my dad had committed suicide at age 4, but I didn't know that. So then my mum was working 3 jobs a day. I would then spend a lot of time at my grand's, where my aunt, who was a drug addict, was back there all the time. And I remember she's just like burst through the window.
Hey team, and welcome to another episode of Jeans and a Nice Top podcast. Excuse me for my croaky voice at the moment. I'm really run down. It's not COVID, don't panic. So you've got to deal with this husky voice as an intro. But I feel like this edgy vibe is perfect for me to introduce our second guest, which is Des Fraser. I want to include a small disclosure to say that we do discuss quite triggering topics such as PTSD and suicide. So if these are things that you are struggling with or would be potential triggers for you, then please don't listen any further. This episode left me feeling really humbled and inspired as Des shares so openly about his experience within the Special Forces, growing up in a really poor background and going through those processes and learning curves in his journey to where he is now. And he also offers a really beneficial mental and wellbeing toolkit, which I think we can all take little nuggets of advice from. I particularly love the areas where we discuss cold water therapy and wellness through adventure. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I do. And as always, don't forget to rate, review and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Smile to Health. Oh, and if you fancy poetry, give my book a read. Welcome to another episode of Jeans and a Nice Top pod, and this week I am blessed with the incredible presence of Des Fraser. He's a former UK Special Forces, founder of the Declassified, a podcast that was voted 3rd in the best-selling wellness podcast in 2020, documenting military stories and declassifying stigma. He's also the founder of a company called HQ Combat that employs veterans and educates and assists children in conflict. He is an absolute power force in spreading motivation and positive mindset and proving to anyone that if you put enough energy and zhuzh behind it, you can overcome anything. So for those that don't know you, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Des, as you mentioned there. I better say the host of the Declassified podcast is my business partner, Michael. We've been best friends for maybe 20 years, but we set it up with a view to give a positive outlook on the poor mental health situation we had during the last 10, 15 years in the military, shedding a light on post-traumatic growth and talking about the positives to come from the trauma we witnessed. He actually won Best Interview on the British Podcast Awards too.
That's insane.
It did, yeah. When you think about it, Michael hasn't had any prior experience in podcasting or anything like that. It's just what organic talking can actually achieve. And then we have a pest control company. Combat was founded on the belief of getting veterans back into work. We were noticing a few of our friends were not getting a fair crack at the whip when they're coming out of the military. People thought they're going into a workplace and then start barking orders, or with PTSD they'd be a little bit crazy and start wanting to fight the bosses, which is not the case. So with a few of our friends struggling, we decided to set it up. At the time I was in the UK Special Forces Reserve, as well as working out in Nigeria actually at the time. I'm doing close protection and anti-piracy, which was quite rough actually.
I was going to say, that must be, I was having a little stalk of you yesterday and I looked through your piracy stuff. I was like, that must have been, that's so otherworldly. That's, it's something that I think we associate pirates and things, Pirates of the Caribbean. It's so far removed, isn't it? You forget that actually that's something that's very real and still exists.
Yeah, and has some devastating effects as well. Certainly, like in the IRTC, the International Recognised Transit Corridor between Somalia and Yemen. There was where they targeted most of the vessels they take there. Sometimes the crew can be hurt and then held for ransom for months on end. So it is, and so that was our job to protect those vessels coming through. We were the armed security on there. And to be fair, it wasn't the worst job. It was probably one of the best I've ever had. Sunbathe and all day, every day, and got paid quite a lot of money for it. So it was.
So you got paid to be tanned and in really good shape.
Yeah, come back and I was minted, a load of money in my bank, and then great shape, great tan. It was not the worst job, let me tell you. And the attacks were really frequent. So when we set this up, Mike was working as a fireman in Heathrow. I'm going back a little bit. We met when we were 16, 17, when we first joined the Royal Engineers. He's a council estate kid from Hull. I'm a council estate kid from Birkenhead. And so from there, then it was 5 pest control on the spare time. We used that model that he built up over the 2 years, and then now we employ 16 people. So it's
wow, that's so exciting. There's so much potential for it to grow as well, and for you to help even more people.
Yeah, well, for every job we do, we educate children in conflict areas. We educate in the system. So I think so far now we give 45,000 people clean drinking water, 20,000 Sudanese children who have been used and sex trafficked during the conflict in Sudan. 4,500 days of education to Afghani street children, and probably about 6,000 meters of minefield now as well. So
oh wow,
the company just has a real social responsibility right around the world, and it's doing some awesome things, and it's just been nominated to be in the top best free small pest control businesses in the UK.
Oh, go on, round of applause for that. I love this though, because I think we all have such a convoluted idea of what a businessman or a successful person can be, and actually if you're passionate about it, you put enough energy, you do your research, you have the knowledge, anything can happen. You can make something really successful as long as you believe in what you do, and that's evident in like everything that you've achieved so far, and the fact that you've got to do that with one of your best friends as well must be so rewarding.
It's unbelievable, and as I say, we do everything together as well. So as part of Declassified, so it's not just a podcast, Declassified, what we do is we talk about performance and wellness through adventure. So although the podcast is got the foundation of it, we also do events. So we do like documentaries for Dry Robe for the likes. We do adventures to Mont Blanc, and we take people up these crazy mountains and give them once in a lifetime opportunities. But it's about that training and development, and like sort of saying, over the next 6 months, you're going to have to really work hard and really input those positive habits into your daily life to reach the highest peak of it, you know. And
so you're not just giving them the physical training of progressing up the mountain, but the metaphorical training of having to build yourself up to a strong place to be able to get there.
Well, that's it, yeah. And understanding that there's always a process to whenever you do something. So we talk about like the way I used to do things as a child. I used to achieve, but it was under such traumatic circumstances, I would just jump into things and just end up, if I'd done all right, there was never anyone teaching me a process of doing it. Okay, you know, you're going to run 100 meters, for instance, at school. Let's go and do training for it. There was none of that.
Absolutely. There's no guiding hand, is there? I think we're very much, especially nowadays as well, we're an instant gratification society. So we want to go from level 0 to level 10 just by jumping and hoping for the best. And actually, those steps along the way are really important.
Yeah, you're right. And in fact, they're everything, because whether it's this thing that you're doing now, these steps can be turned to anything that you do in life. So it could be climbing a mountain one day, but it could be actually getting your next job that you've really, really look forward to, or building a podcast, or, you know, anything, building a business. And as you said before, people think like to be a businessman, you've got to go to the university and study business studies and all the rest of it. But really all you've got to do is love humans and processes. If you get to them right, you've cracked business, I swear. That's
humans and processes, the dream team.
You're winning all the time.
See, I'm good at the human side, the processing and tech side, not so much. We're working on that bit.
I got bashed on the head by the military with it though from day one. Everything has a system, everything has a process, and this is how you do it.
I can imagine actually that there's so many transferable skills from the military. Motivation, mindset. Would you like to dabble a bit more into that and how you've used those skills to basically grow all of these businesses and make the difference that you are?
Yeah, so the old age thing is I get asked, why do I employ veterans? And for one, it was a demographic that was struggling at the time. So, you know, that was key to me to, you know, to have a positive impact on my community, if you like. But then, you know, people say, oh, well, they're punctual and, you know, they're always going to be smart. But, you know, it's not the case that. What it does is it, from day one, it puts you through adversity. So you're struggling. You're like, I was 16, turned up at Barrisonbourne Barracks, had this massive big sergeant screaming at me. I was a scabby kid. I was like, what the hell is going on here?
What's this? Why is he screaming at me?
Why are you waving a stick at me and ordering me to do things? This is not how I was seeing this happening. And that adversity straight away, and then getting put through real tough training all the time. And the training in the military is second to none, really. The way it's planned out and executed, it's really good. So I think that's what the qualities you get from being in the military. And I think resilience is probably my favourite tool.
Yeah, I was going to say it would be the ultimate. It's very different, but my drama school training is obviously very different to military, but there's things that you can pull on, and resilience is one of them, because from the get-go we're told you're not good enough, only 10% of you are going to work, and you're expected to show up 8 till 6, day in, day out, put in the extra work, put in the time, and you have to self-motivate as well, but also learn to work as a team. And I think that resilience is so important, rather than just being handed something or just being confused why you didn't get where you wanted to be.
Yeah, and I think the main thing about it is you fail quite a lot in the military. Like every day, there's something that can go wrong and won't go wrong. There's a favourite saying that every plan doesn't survive the first contact, and it really doesn't. So little failures, all of a sudden, you don't take them so personally. Whereas I know when I was at school and stuff, if something went wrong, I'd be like,
it's the ultimate disgrace, isn't it? If you got 5 out of 10 on your exam, that's just the worst thing. Heavens forbid you get a B. Do you know what I mean? It's nonsense. It's actually nonsense.
I was really happy with a B, by the way.
I went to like a serious overachiever school, and it's ridiculous. And they used to say B is for bad, and that slogan has just stuck with me for the rest of my life. And it's nonsense, because it's not. If you've done your absolute best, whatever the end result is, that's your best. That is great. If you've not tried, then even if you got a top mark, that's not your best, because you didn't try, you didn't put the effort in. But yeah, I totally agree with you in this. In building a healthy relationship with failure, I think is really important, because I think that's what stops most people from pushing forward.
Yeah, the fear of it, isn't it? People like for me, I don't have fear when it comes to anything like that. I'll try something new, and if it doesn't work out, I'm the first to go, actually, this could be done better by someone else. Maybe I'll get them in, and that's where the team building from the military. You've got loads of different skill sets. You can draw on each of us. Certainly in the special forces, because being in the special forces reserve, you have loads of guys with degrees, and then there's me, Council State kid from Birkenhead, who's just been to war a few times with the regular army, and then all of a sudden, when you're just working together, you can achieve absolutely anything then. But there's things that I know that I have a ceiling level, and then there's other things that I'll always excel on. So I think it's about knowing that and being comfortable in that as well.
Yeah, that's that, to be comfortable in your weaknesses and play to your strengths, and then, like you said, pull from other people, I think is so important. Did you find that going from the different areas of the military, it gave you a really well-rounded understanding of people?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It was, I won't go into some of them, but certainly, I was a footballer and a boxer when I was young, from Liverpool area. That's all we ever
sporty zone.
Yeah, there was no such thing as rugby or anything cricket. Joining the army, it then gave me the opportunity to play hockey, for instance. I didn't realise how violent hockey was.
I was terrified. The girls in hockey are lethal.
You guys are great, but girls are worse. You wouldn't lose a tooth. I'm from the Midlands. We wouldn't lose. So if you were letting the team down, your own team would beat you down to be like, get off the pitch. It was lethal.
It is lethal. And I obviously chucked in the deep end there. I ended up playing for my regiment. And then rugby, I got introduced to rugby because I was quite a big lad. I'm 6'3". I was quite aggressive. Well, I was seriously aggressive back then, and it was channeled into me. Second row, this is what we're going to do. We're going to train you just to do 3 or 4 things, and we'll get you to do it at a decent standard. And I'm going into the rugby team really opened my eyes to certain human beings and what they were. But it was fantastic, the military, because you have the books of life at all different ranks as well, and then all different locations. So we had Caribbean, Fijian, Australian, South African, and it was amazing. Like it was my savior, if I'm honest, from what was quite a traumatic childhood. I escaped at 16, and I never looked back. It was probably the best decision I've made. And I bet you've made lifelong friends and connections that you can carry through into your adult life as well. Yeah, well, Michael's the prime example of it, but I've got loads. And even then going on to the latter years of my military career, these guys are brothers. And I don't, when I hear it on American films, I'm like, oh god, there we go. But it is genuine. So Mike and I, we share, we have the same values, standards, and everything else. And maybe that's from the military or our backgrounds, but yeah, it does. It tends to be like a friendship forged for life, and it does bode you well in the long run when you need support.
Yeah, which I think is so important to. I think people are being more open about the conversation now, but it's so important to lean on other people when you need help, or to open up the conversation and let people in, and surround yourself with a strong team, and not just in a work sense but in a life sense. I know that to have, like I would say, your vibe is your tribe, and the people that you surround yourself with is so important. I think there's I can't remember who the book is by, but they said that you're basically the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And someone said that to me, and it really clicked, and I was like, wow, like we waste so much time either doing things we don't want to do, surrounding ourselves with people we don't want to be around, and actually to find those, like you said, brothers, those people that will carry you through is integral.
Yeah, so there's 2 points to that really. So back in the day, it was quite a close shop. So when I was talking about my rugby days, if someone was, I don't know, being bullied or someone was feeling down, we wouldn't have spoken about it, and which is a shame, because we sort of missed those years where we could have saved quite a few. I know a guy, his name was Percy, he took his own life in Germany, and that was really sad. And because of the culture back then, we couldn't, we would never have reached out. Whereas now, I talk a lot about your diet, and I don't want to say your diet, I do mean your nutrition and everything else, and you're taking
all-round lifestyle.
Everything. It's what you're reading, what you're listening to, the people who are with you, and as you said, the most 5 influential people in your life who are there all the time. If you're listening to them and they're not, and if they're toxic in any way, that's going to be a part of your diet, and you're just going to absorb that and take it negatively. So let's talk about building a troop. Build your troop to the best of your ability. And I think, I don't know about yourself, but having the podcast is giving us access to some of the most unbelievable, beautiful human beings that are getting on talking, and then all of a sudden forging friendships. Like so one of our business partners, Nathan, with Declassified, he's unbelievable. And then Sean Jones, he's number 8 on ours, and he come on, he's a military cross winner, suffered from PTSD, and then he come to work with us after that podcast, after doing it, because you're doing that hour interview, you can really like love someone, can't you? And we did with Sean, and then now he owns a part of the company, and he's the operations director, and he's unbelievable. It's a real credit. So he's very much in my diet. So is Nate. So is a few others. And to have them on board in my close friendship group, it's good. And since then as well, I must admit, I've had to distance myself from a few people because of these warning signs, which is never good. You always try and bring them with you, but some people can't. And it's but that diet thing and that close knit, you have got to make sure that you're constantly reviewing who is in your top 5, if you like, and making sure that they're a positive impact on your life.
That's such an interesting perspective. I love that you've turned the word diet into something really positive, because I think we associate the word diet as something that always takes away. But actually, a diet is something that should add to your life. If you have a well-rounded diet, and the diet including people, what you listen to, what you read, how you spend your time, actually that's going to encompass and help you grow. So I really like that perspective. I think it's really interesting. It's
definitely, and as you say, if you're thinking about your diet as the people who do you want to be around, look in your friendship groups, and who's the most positive people, who are the people who are really going to grow you as a human being, give you the toolkit to help you, and then who would you turn to as well when times are hard, and make sure that your diet, they are added to it every time. Make the extra effort to go and see them. Like, so I have loads of friends now, as I say, past and present, from the military and civilian life, and I keep in touch with them all. Zoom's amazing now as well, but both to London to the world, I do. I make sure that I make time for everyone who's really impacted my life positively and continues to do so.
Yeah, so good. I wanted to delve a bit deeper into because you're so open about the importance of healing, speaking out about when you're struggling, and like you said, you didn't initially get that in the military. And I know that you've had quite a difficult childhood, especially with trauma and surrounding the topics of suicide. And if you're willing to share, I'd love to go a bit deeper into that, to explore like over the surface kind of what happened and how you managed to turn something that can be so debilitating and life-changing into something that was actually really positive that's enabled you to help other people.
Yeah, definitely. Let's delve into it. Well, I'll just talk about resilience then. So from a young age, I was building resilience without actually knowing it. So coming from I'm going to say a rough council estate in Birkenhead, it was probably the worst place you could have been born in the UK. It was like the night of the living dead. So Liverpool was flooded with heroin during the 80s, and that's when I was born. And you literally, there was drug addicts all over. So you'd wake up in the morning, you'd be going to school, and they'd be lying on the floor, knocked out and unconscious and stuff like that. So you're seeing all this sort of violence and a lot of
that you would have been so desensitized to as well, because that would have just been your norm.
Well, from 4 years of age, you know, they're my memories that I can go back to looking at these. I remember one guy getting knocked out with a knuckle duster. I must have been only 6. I remember myself and my cousin talking about pulling a knife out of a drug addict's belly. That would have been about 7. I had an aunt, well, I had 2 aunts actually who were drug addicts, and they used to come round demanding money with menace to my grandmother's. They'd slice themselves in front of us. It was, when I say traumatic, I'm really playing it down when I think about it now. I have 2 children, and they would never even imagine that this, you know, these happen in life. So that was something that was really, you know, into my childhood, and very much a way of life. So I had to survive from a very young age. And the resilience you sort of build up from there, I don't think you can take it as positive, because it creates a real destructive.
You're in a constant fight mode, aren't you? With the nervous system, we're in a fight. We talk about fight or flight in a jokey sense of, oh, there's a bear, and now it's, oh, I'm scared to jump off to go skydiving. But actually, that fight or flight system comes into everyday life, and I think to be in that fight mode from such an early age, it's going to have a negative impact, because your body isn't meant to sit in that kind of panic system for so long.
No, exactly that. So you have your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight, flight, and freeze. And it's also part of Maslow's pyramidal hierarchy. If you're at the bottom base in survival, you can't build empathy, love, and stability from all the other parts of it, because you are surviving. And as a kid, you don't realize that that's happening to you, which you definitely didn't. Then you can't do anything to it. Like, so now, if I feel like I'm getting anxious, or I'm getting, aggressive, or anything like that, I just meditate or go and do some cold water therapy. I've got like a real good toolkit we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
As a kid, you haven't got this, so you turn to your family members. And as I said, my dad had committed suicide at age 4, but I didn't know that. So then my mum was working 3 jobs a day. I would then spend a lot of time at my grand's, where my aunt, who was a drug addict, was back there all the time. And I remember she's just like burst through the window, smashed the window, and like she'd assault my nan, and I'd feel really angry at like maybe age 7. And her son my nan had adopted him, because let's face it, he wouldn't have had much of a life or any ability at all. So he had to watch it as well, which was. We used to have the fight part of the fight, flight, and freeze for me, because I'd see him, I'd see me nan, I was just so aggressive.
You want to protect.
That was it, but you couldn't do anything as a 7-year-old then. And then I living up on an estate like that. You sort of I remember 2 boys who had tried to, they had jumped me down an entry, and they were hitting me and stuff like that. And I come in, and I was sat at like a dinner table in my mum's, and I sat there with my big brown eyes, crying. And she was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Oh, these boys are a bit older than me. It just hit me." And she was like, "Oh, have they?" I was like, "Yeah." She like thinking I was going to get sympathy. And all of a sudden she was like, "Get out there now and batter them, or I'm going to batter you." And I was like, so I went out, and I did. And I pulled one off a bike, and we got stuck in. And by the end of it, she drags me back in, or fighting for them. And she's like, "They're here." And I was like, "No." And she's like, "No, every time you have to do that." And it's sort of like that little lesson there was massive resilience, because any fear then for future events, because it was always going to happen because of where we lived.
Yeah, and it kind of gave you the power to know that you can, maybe not necessarily in a conventional way, but it gave you the psychological power to know that you can retake control of your life. You don't have to accept the circumstance for what it is. You can actually turn it and go, no, I'm in power of this situation. This isn't going to happen.
It was definitely not giving me any conflict management skills at all. However, what it did, as you said then, she was empowering me for what was to come. And when you think about that, it must be, again, the 80s are not where we are now today.
No, so it's a very different world. And
it is. Yeah. And you know, I wouldn't advise anyone to be doing that. If you can always get out of a conflict, always walk away from it. It's the best policy. However, back then, if you tried to walk away, you got hit from behind, you know.
Yeah, so you had to fight with fists back then.
Well, that's it. So that was my childhood. But obviously, going into the latter years, I went to school, and I was more. I never ever bullied anyone, or never started a fight, but I had plenty of violence in me. So I was always fighting. People would do something to me, and then I would think that was the answer, which it definitely wasn't. And then I literally scraped through school. I was very disruptive, but little did I know later on now, I had complex PTSD from a childhood. So you imagine what that was doing to me: sleepless nights, anxiety. And then all of a sudden, then coupled going to school and being told that you're not worthy, you're a disruptive influence on the class, you're this.
Yeah, sit down, be quiet, you can't be who you are.
That's it, you've got a broken home, and you know, everything at home is
there's no stability anywhere, is there? And I think that's the biggest factor with trauma, is that if you've got no anchor point, it's really hard to find a safe space in order to be able to process it, which is so important.
And the little safe space you did was getting invaded all the time by violence. So yeah, as I say, it was at 16 years of age, I'd walked down to Birkenhead Careers office with a friend, and I had no intention of joining the military. I had zero role models in my life as a kid, and it weren't even on the radar. And the careers office guy was like, listen, you're waiting here, why don't you just do the test? So I was like, okay, I watched this video of someone jumping out of a plane. I thought, that's quite cool.
Yeah.
I went and done the test, and he said, well, listen, now you can do anything as a British soldier, so you can get a trade if you want. And I was just like, wow, I've got no opportunity to get a trade otherwise. And then it was sort of sold for me. 16 years of age, I was on a train down to Basenbourne, talking about that moment earlier on with the sergeant, just waving a pay stick in my face. Get on that bus now, and then just screaming at me. I'm like, oh no.
What have I done?
And then it was 3 months of basic training, which was, you know, again, it's loads of life lessons from there. It was awesome.
And I think it's, in a way, when you look back, it's actually so interesting, I think, to see how your life was planned out, and almost you've ended up where you were meant to be in order to get where you are now. I know that's kind of a bit of a hippy-dippy way to look at it, but sometimes I think the world does play out in mysterious ways, and actually it offers us these opportunities to say, this is your chance to reconnect with yourself, to make your life what you want it to be, rather than what your circumstances have made it. And I think that's really powerful.
Definitely. And you know what, I actually embrace all of those struggles. So we'll go on to, so when we talk, you mentioned before, like the sort of resilience that I found from things. When I was 18, I was in the army, and I can't remember what had happened, but my mum was away on holiday, and I had a sister who we grew up quite close, but she was my dad's daughter, and to another mum, and Beverly, her name was. She was awesome, and we had someone come up to us and tell us that our dad had committed suicide, where I always thought that he died of a blood clot. So this guy I've always missed all my life, thinking like, oh, he just had this tragic incident where, you know, I think mum said he fell down some stairs, which I totally get her reason. I'm a 4-year-old, the other. So to find that out, I was in complete shock.
Yeah, it would have dismantled your entire world and everything that you've built upon.
I got this wave of rejection, which I've never, even though back then I didn't have the most stable life, I never got the rejection because my mum had a massive heart, so did my gran.
Yeah.
I was either a massive woman influence around me, my aunts and stuff like that. And then
a lot of strong women.
That was it. And so to get this, I was just like, why? Why would he do it to us? And then straight after that, I was in the Iraq War in 2003.
Blimey.
And I'd come back literally 6 months, and then I volunteered to go back on tour to Iraq. And my sister then, I'll never forget the time. It was quite traumatic actually when I think about this as a 3-week period. So my best friend died on the 9th of January 2004 at home. He died of cystic fibrosis. Now, me and him were inseparable right the way through life, and it was really sad. So I remember my boss coming in and saying, "Des, can I have a word?" I was like, "Yeah, certainly." I said, let's go into this room. And he's like, "Oh, you know, your best friend Chris has died." And I was like, "I'm in Basra Palace, you know, is there any chance I can get back to the funeral?" Not a chance. It's like, okay. And then I went on to like an observation post for like 9 days, and it was so basically I was underground getting bit by all sorts of creatures from the the Shatab Arab River. We were doing an observation post there, and it was no food, like no warm food anyway. Everything was cold. You were literally, wherever you took in, you were taken back out as well, and you were living. It was no showers.
Bit of a cesspit.
It was horrendous. Yeah. You've seen things there that, you know, would traumatize you anyway.
In themselves,
Yeah. And then on the way back, it was on the 18th of January, which was my birthday. It was my 21st birthday as well.
Oh wow, so you're still so young.
And we were getting shot at left, right, and centre about three times coming through Alamara, where, you know, you feel it going past you. You know, the rounds are whistling.
And there's nothing in life that can prepare you for that either.
You know, even
though you've had a very difficult childhood compared to most, even something like the story that you've depicted, even that can't prepare you for being in the middle of a warfare. You're not, as a human, ever exposed to that.
Well, what it does is, when you used to drive through Basra, so on this day we're coming back on my 21st birthday, where you're feeling a little bit, you know, shit, if I'm honest, like you're feeling, because everyone else on their 21st birthday usually gets a party and a few drinks. So we're coming through, and you suffer from a thing called hypervigilance, or you can do, where you're just constantly scanning rooftops because people just pop shot at you, or in this instance, it was by a bus stop. And then when you turn around, you can't fire it because there's loads of innocent people there. So they use that as cover, which, it causes another combat stress. But we can talk about it in a bit more detail in a minute. We gets back anyway on my 21st birthday. I remember texting my aunt saying, she said, "Happy birthday." I said, "Oh yeah, I'm going downtown Basra tonight." And she goes, "Okay, just have a lovely time, but there's no fighting." I was thinking, does she think I'm really going drinking in a Muslim war-torn country?
Oh, bless her.
Like, but that's how detached you are from the people who you love.
In her head, she's like, "Don't start a fight in the pub."
Just have a good time and, you know, get home safe. I'm like, okay, I can't leave the perimeter of the fence, otherwise I get shot at or blown up. So 10 days later, literally on the 31st of January, my friend Brad Thompson was buried to death, literally 100 meters away from me. He fell into a trench, and the side had just completely collapsed on him and suffocated him. Tried to dig him out and stuff like that, but he was completely dead. Which was, again, quite traumatic, you know, just to have that. The night before, we were in this internet room that you had in Basra Palace, and we were joking, laughing, and we were on these like spinny chairs, and we were just having a laugh, and then the next day he's snatched away at like 23 years of age, and
and that must be so destabilizing as well, because it's almost would make you fear building relationships and bonds with people around you, because you never know how long they're going to be, or when, like you said, they're going to be snatched away.
Well, when you're away as well, and you are in those conditions, like, there used to be a little town opposite us over the river, and they used to RPG us. So like that's rockets coming over on a daily basis. So you literally built your bed up with sandbags. So it was like living in a coffin.
Oh my gosh!
Because obviously shrapnel and stuff like that, if you come close, you could survive it. And then just living like that, and then having these people who are so close to you start dying. It was quite horrendous, actually. And then again, my boss come in and was like, "There's, you know, I know this has happened. Do you want to have a chat about it?" It was awesome. His name was Pete Dunn, real good leader. And when we were in there, I was just like, can I go to the funeral? He's like, no, you can't. So I was devastated, to say the least.
Because there's no space for you to then grieve. You're just having to suppress grief after grief after grief.
Well, that's it. And I know you're resilient from a childhood, but it's sort of like the adding to the camel's back, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just adding weight and weight and weight, and eventually, like, you can suppress so far, but once you dip below that warning level, like, your mental capacity can only take so much.
Yeah, and to be 21 as well, and have lived this much and seen that much trauma was quite, I don't think there's many people who can say they've lived that sort of life. And then literally, that was on the 31st of January. On the 3rd of February, my sister took her life. So she had committed suicide. And it was absolutely horrendous, but I didn't know. My bosses called us in and said, do you want to, Des, I need to have a word. I said, Pete, every time you want to speak to me, someone's died.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I need to have a word with you. I was like, oh gosh. And in your head, you're thinking, who now?
Yeah, give me a break kind of thing. It's when, and nothing ever comes at what, it's never separated either, is it? Like, I feel like you can take one blow and you can kind of process it and deal with it. But you couldn't even process that one blow because of the environment you were in. And then you get another blow and then a third one. Like you said, in such a concentrated amount of time, I can't even begin to imagine the mental processing that you had to do to kind of just keep going and get out of bed.
Yeah, I don't think there was much processing happening at all. But then when he called me in, as I say, he said, oh, your sister's taking her life. And I was quite angry at it because I've just lost two mates. One was 21 and one was 23. And she was 23 and had taken her life. So that three young people, two that didn't want to die, and then there's one that taken it because the legacy of my dad, really, and what people don't tell you is, if you commit suicide and you have children, you open a door, they're 2 times more likely to do it because you've given them a pathway out. And this is why I would urge anyone to think about it, the repercussions and the legacy that it creates.
Yeah.
And it, and I understand poor mental health. Sometimes you think like that is the only way out, and it's not. There's always help there. And if anything, you've got to build these little hooks just to keep in there. And these hooks have got to be provided by the family, your loved ones. Yeah. And then what legacy, the impact of you taking that route would have. So, as I say, this happens, and then all of a sudden, you're going home. You can't be here now. So the only structure that I sort of known was that I weren't allowed to go home. I was in a war zone, and I was quite comfortable being in a war zone, knowing that any day you could be hit, or you could have to fight, and because you're in that fight, flight and freeze mode, you're in a fight, so you're just ready for it.
It's almost that bubble of hell was protecting you from having to deal with all of the external things, and once you were removed from that, it was like, oh my goodness, everything that's happened is just thrown at you.
It's just, then you've got to start the healing, the processing, and all the rest of it, and the growth that comes from it. And so the next day, literally, we went to Basel Airport on a tactical takeoff where basically the Hercules goes straight up, because there was
my goodness,
RPG gunners at the end of the runway trying to take the aircraft out. Yeah, it was
madness.
It was not my favourite moments, I must admit, because I'm not a great flyer. I know I'm airborne, I've jumped out of planes, but trust me, I don't want to take it off. Yeah, so and then I found myself in desert clothes the next day in Bryce Norton, and I was like, can I get a hire car to get back to Liverpool? No, because I weighed 25 and I couldn't be insured. So I was straight onto a train, go through the underground and then coming through. It was just like the most surreal moments. And then after it, I managed to get to Rab's funeral and Bev's funeral, carried the coffins. And afterwards I was quite big because I've been training out in Iraq every day, doing weightlifting and stuff, and then I was boxing, and I was quite angry. And I would say that's when I had the most traumatic couple of years where I couldn't build a relationship, and what relationships I did build I would destroy.
Because that's the only thing that was the only coping mechanism you knew how. Like, from a young age, you've been taught that violence results in a solution, and then you go into a war zone where you're either fearing violence or you have to act back with violence, and then you're thrust with all these huge emotional battles to have to combat, and the only way you know how to is again violence. It's cyclical. It's like you said, we'll delve deeper into like how you created a toolkit that was a lot healthier, and how you utilised something really traumatic and moved away from the anger and turned it into something more productive.
Well, we're talking about that now, so you can see now the amount of suicide that's gone on, obviously into my growth and everything else, as well as all the other trauma. I knew that was not sustainable. You know, I would not live the life that I certainly have now. People wouldn't want to be around me, you know, which is completely understandable. And so I face all the time guys who, and it is usually guys, by the way, who are like, oh, well, I don't want to do cold water therapy. I don't want to do, you know, breathing techniques to calm me down.
Yeah.
You know, it won't work for me. Now, I've just painted the picture now of probably a really, really angry guy.
Yeah.
6'3", a soldier who could cause a lot of destruction. And I managed to actually, by using cold water therapy, walking, exercise, good diets, as I said before, building the right people around you, people who aren't afraid to tell you that you know you're in the wrong.
And that's so important, because I think we surround ourselves with yes people, even in every aspect of life now. Like if we relate it to current society, even with who you follow on social media, you can just follow people that agree with you. So you're only ever being surrounded with the same opinion, rather than actually diversifying the news readers you listen to, the books you read, the opinions, the backgrounds. Then you'll get a more well-rounded people, and like you said, be called out when you're being a knob or you're out of order. It is actually, we don't like it, but it's integral. Like it's important for our own growth.
And again, that diet as well, it's got to be well-rounded. And yeah, so for me to be able to do it for myself, then it was a case of, can I deliver this then to other people? Can I you know, change the way my friends are feeling? And I'll use two examples now. I won't mention the names, but I've got a cousin who's 50 odd years of age. He was diagnosed with ADHD, adult ADHD, and was completely depressed. And he was talking to me openly about suicide and stuff. And I was like, give me 2 weeks. And he was like, what do we do in these 2 weeks? I was like, every day we're going to go over to the marine lake near the Mersey. And we're going to dip. We're just going to go in. Bear in mind, it was quite cold. It was near December.
Gonna say,
and he was like, you want me to go in there? I was like, yeah, we're just going to go in and we're just going to submerge 5 to 10 minutes, make sure we've got a nice robust safety plan, and never go in on your own. But then let's go in and do it. For 2 weeks he'd done it every single day, and then I had to go back down to London and was working away, and he basically then just carried it on. And then he all antidepressants, he doesn't take any medication for anything. And when he's feeling anxious, he just goes and gets into the cold water.
Wow, because I've heard so much about cold water therapy. There's lots of different variants of it. But in my head, from the sporting dance kind of background that I'm from, it's something to just kind of heal your muscles, to shock the system, like active recovery. So can you explain a bit more on actually what that has, like you said before, on the parasympathetic nervous system? What's the actual impacts and the benefits of cold water? How could people start cold water therapy? Tell me more. How did you get into it? How did you find it?
Yeah, definitely. So again, you know, when you set the podcast up and you're trying to help others, I found out I had PTSD from David Wiseman's episode, and then Tony Riddle's is where I found out about cold water therapy. And so about 2 years ago, we bought some Mike, Nath, Sean, JP the singer. We all got these like massive, big 360 litre wheelie bins dropped off at our houses, and we filled it up with water and put some ice in it. And we're like, okay, we're gonna do this little experiment now every day for the month, and see how it changes our moods. And at the time, my PTSD, I get really intrusive thoughts when it happens. So, and it could be, well, the quite graphic dreams. I wake up in sweats and in tears. I was like, if I can cure a little bit of this, I'll be so happy. And also is when I'm going to sleep, I'm in that. My memory is trying to log it, so the subconscious. So I'll just talk quickly. Sorry, I'm waffling there. But PTSD.
No, go for it.
PTSD is a memory problem. We think it's a mental health problem. It's not until it doesn't get diagnosed or it doesn't get help. So it's a memory problem. You've seen trauma. There's a part of your brain that will starve of oxygen. That means that memory will never be filed. So your subconscious, it's picture a filing cabinet, all nice and neat at A to Z, and then all of a sudden you chuck a load of paper on top, and
you can't quite organize the system.
All of a sudden, as it's opening, it's trying to log, and eventually you need to. Well, for me, it was sitting down with a counsellor and talking about these problems. That really then started filing away. So now I just like do a little bit of a meditation, if you like. I go into a bit of a relaxed state.
Yeah.
And I just think about what I've been dreaming about and the impact it's had and where it could be possibly from. And sometimes then I'll find the point in life where the memory is, and then I'll just find it away, make sense of it. So it might be, for instance, my aunt.
Yeah.
So my dreams there, I'll be like, okay, well, she was under the influence of drugs. It was a sign of the times. You've grown from it, and I'll take the positives to that memory.
Yeah.
And then it files away so much better.
You're able to rationalise the situation, because as a child you wouldn't understand what was going on. So that's, like you said, the stack of messy paper everywhere. Like, I don't understand this chaos. And then by rationalising it, and there's a really great technique for anxiety that I learned a while ago, and it's you name 5 things that you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, and you go through all the senses, and then the last one is a deep breath. And actually being able to rationalise, that's the same system of being able to rationalise a situation. And then, like you said, I love that analogy of filing it away, because it's so accurate. It's creating order within chaos. Yeah.
So then with that PTSD, and obviously with me having the nightmares and the intrusive thoughts, what it used to do is, because I'd only get like 3-4 hours sleep, I'd go to work and I wouldn't be performing, and then I in my brain I would be thinking that the people around me know that I'm not performing.
Yeah.
And it would self-induced pressure, guilt, all these type of negative things would come over me, and I didn't have a way of coping with it. Whereas now, it's very rare that I do, because of the cold water. But if I do start having a week where it's real negative, I just tell people, everyone around me. So I'll tell my partner, I'll tell my mum, I'll tell my business partners, I'll tell my friends, listen, this is how I'm feeling. And they're quite open about it. And when you're 6'3" and you're talking about these mental health problems, it sort of drums them. I'd say, oh, well, I haven't been feeling too good. Or
and I love that, because I think it is that we all internalise it and think we're so alone. I think especially, I think as women we're a lot better at talking about stuff than men are. I'm going to put it out there. And, we love a little, whether it's a gossip over brunch, or you'll text your friend a voice note. I mean, me and my friends send like 8-minute voice notes on the regular. And men, you just don't, there's not as much impetus to be like, actually, I feel like crap. And I think, like you said, for somebody, it's stereotypical, but this big soldier that's a man and strong, all these stereotypical things, to then be, actually, I still find things hard as well, then almost gives other people permission to go, oh, I do too, like, is that normal? Oh my God, I'm not on my own, that's amazing. And it just opens up this space and opens up a conversation as well, which I just think is magic.
It does, and you know what, the best conversations I've had of late, over the last 2 years, if you like, is when I've been in cold water. So when we got these bins, we turned up and we'd done this trial, and at the time I was struggling really with sleep. But what it does is, when you're in the fight, flight and freeze, that's when I find I'm more agitated about me PTSD, and like the memories become more intrusive and it starts having more of an impact. But if I jump in cold water at 6 o'clock in the morning, or I go for a run and then jump in cold water, what it does is, for the rest of the day, I'm in the parasympathetic nervous system. So, and that's more rest and digest. And it means I'm much more relaxed, which then means if I need a nap in a day, I'll take it, and with no guilt whatsoever. And then if
you show yourself kindness.
There you go. And of an evening, then I'm much more relaxed. Therefore, I'm going to get sleep. Even if I have an intrusive memory or a dream, it'll wake me up, but I'm still quite relaxed.
Yeah.
And then I can just go, okay, well, listen, it's happened. Let's get back to sleep. And as you said, that grounding technique that you just mentioned there was an awesome one. And the other one is just to lie there and just try and think about the whole of your body, what you can memorize, from the head down to your nose, down to your chin, down to your chest, right the way down to your toes and back up. And all of a sudden, I seem to sink into the bed again.
It's that moment of connecting, because I think we're so, obviously, if we translate this into like their everyday life, everyone's so go. It's hustle culture 24/7. And I'm doing a yoga teacher training at the moment, and we've been taught the emphasis of Shavasana and how that's the only moment of rest people get. And I've been looking into things like restorative yoga and yoga nidra, which goes through the kind of going through your body, and you go externally from the physical body to the emotional body to the breath to your like soul essentially. And I think we're all too afraid or ashamed to kind of connect with the calm. And actually we can't function and progress and grow and tick off all these amazing things we want to do in life until we slow down.
Yeah, and that's exactly that. And you've got to spend as much time as you can in your parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
The best ways to do it, honestly, are through exercise. When you go into cold water, what's the first thing you're going to do? You take a deep breath. Yeah.
And an actual breath into your diaphragm rather than from your like sternum upwards.
Yeah, so people don't understand, because when they go in for the first 2 minutes, you actually are trying to survive, which is you're fighting to flight and freeze. But then all of a sudden, you've taken enough oxygen, you realise that you're quite calm, and actually getting into cold water is really difficult. So straight away, you've already achieved something that's really, really good.
Instant reward
In that sense, and then you're getting loads of good oxygen into your system, and then you're learning to be calm under pressure. And two of the sports that I do now is jiu-jitsu and freediving. And both of those is being comfortable by being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't like
jiu-jitsu, you're like a giant pretzel.
yeah. I'm just getting twisted up all the time, and like got big sweaty bodies just plowing
in my face.
I can't breathe, or someone choking me. And then being in freediving, I'm like 10 meters underwater on one breath, and then you know
that's amazing.
The uncomfortableness of it when you're getting the hicks in your stomach makes me, if you can get comfortable doing that, it changes your life. It really does. But then again, that cold water just gives you that instant feeling of that, where you can walk in somewhere safely. You can do it in a wheelie bin. You can do it in a cold shower. You can do it in a cold bath. And I think it's probably the best part of my toolkit. But if I was to give you a little list of things that I do on a daily basis now to manage this, is one, again, I'll go back onto it because it's the most important, is my diet. I don't watch news anymore.
Yeah, I stopped doing. I think the pandemic taught me that, because we were just bombarded all the time. I'd never normally watch the news anyway, and I just felt so overwhelmed with all this kind of. And I know that you can't cushion yourself from negativity, but I think you can select what you want to expose yourself to.
Yeah, but you've got to memorize, like our brains. We're so complex, but there's only so much that we can take on, and you can control how much you take on. And if you're on social media from the second you wake up and you're listening to the LBCs and the BBC and all these other news stations constantly right the way through your day, and you're doing your work, you listen to your family, you listen to your friends, you're taking on problems from elsewhere, you're trying to manage you. All of a sudden, by the look, you've just taken on so much, when really you wake up, you go for a run, a nice jog, 30 to 45 minutes maybe, or even a walk or a cycle, anything, just walk into it, listen to a good podcast that you know is going to feed you and grow you, and then come back, or maybe not even listen to anything, actually, just to the sounds of it.
That's something I've been trying to do, because I notice I have to constantly distract all the time. I can't be doing one thing. I'm awful for being a multitasker. And actually, I'm very much like exercise first thing in the morning. It's my solid routine that I won't compromise on, that and water, because I'm a raisin when I wake up. And it's completely changed my life, because getting my body moving straight away, like you said, not going on your phone, hydrating, and then just being outside as well, especially if you move outside, absolute game changer, because you've got the healing power of nature, the endorphins from the exercise, and you've actually drunk some water. Well done.
100%, and the sense of achievement after completing something like that. And so gone for this thing. So this Aura ring that I wear now, I microanalyze my sleep. So and this has had a real shift on the way I do things. So I tend to set an alarm of a night before I go to bed, not in the morning.
Yeah.
So I set my alarm now for 9 p.m. 2100 hours for the military guide. And then and from that I then start a wind down process. So try and stay away from my phone. Sometimes I'll go on it, make sure the screen's dimmed and stuff like that. Obviously, I brush my teeth. I take the time with that, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And I sort of have a little bit of a ritual before bed, a couple of pages of a book, and then I'm out. And then at the minute, I'm getting like real optimal sleeps, and then I wake up naturally then. And this thing called REM sleep, I don't know if you know, it's rapid eye movement. that's where your brain then releases all the toxins and cleans itself. That part of your sleep, not your deep sleep. Your deep sleep's where
it's such a short amount of your sleep as well, isn't it?
But they say on a regular basis, you should look at 25% of your sleep. So an 8-hour sleep, 2 hours REM. Now, when I first started monitoring my ring, I got between 18 and 40 minutes of REM out of an 8-hour sleep. And then now I'm getting 1 hour 30 to 2 hours 15. And I am like so much more switched on and alert in the day. So the things I do there is I don't have caffeine after 10 a.m.
I've had to start, so I'm an insomniac, and so I am such an advocate for the importance of sleep, because as someone that's been sleep deprived, you don't know how crazy it makes you, and then you end up in a negative cycle because you rely on the caffeine, and then you end up feeling more tired, I find. So yeah, and I'm such an advocate as well for morning and nighttime routines. You have a wind up and a wind down.
That's it, and wake up naturally, because I've noticed that a lot of my REM sleep is at the back end of my sleep. So I have REM sleep for about 45 minutes and then I wake up. So if I for instance, if I set my alarm for 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock like I used to, I used to be this like, oh, well, I've got to set an alarm 5 o'clock, got to have this routine. And it's all bred from the military and a lot of ego, to be fair.
Yeah, because I'm part of the 5 a.m. club. Look at me go.
Instagram run at 5 a.m. Oh, I'm doing it again, aren't I? Yeah, like, you know, but it's actually totally detrimental to your mental health.
It's making me so happy, and inside I needed sleep. Let me go to sleep.
Yeah, that's it. And then all of a sudden, then I'm working till late, and then I'm up early again, and it's a vicious cycle. You might as well just like have nightmares all the time because it gives you the same effect. So now it's that important. So sleep, the exercise in the morning, then just to give you that sense of achievement, but also get the air into your lungs and reconnect with your body and your mind in the morning. And then it sets you up then for whatever it is you need to do for that day. And just try and cut out as much exterior noise as possible, and then plan things. I love planning adventures, and that's where I think
the wellness through adventure has come from.
That's it, yeah. And you look at it now. So as I say, we've got a program that we're going to climb 2 highest mountains in Spain, but to do that, Brecon first and do some of the SAS routes. So take these guys who they're not from my background. We're mountaineering and stuff. They're just like straight civvies. A lot of them work in the city and stuff, and they're like, well, I want to achieve something more than just the
9 to 5.
Yeah. So we take them out, do these adventures. Or you could be, I would say, free diving, swimming in the sea, just getting out there in nature and I'm really enjoying it. There's one down the Jurassic Coast, and then get to like Durdle Door and Lulworth Cove, and just spending the night there. And
so many magic places in the world. I know it's interesting that you explore so much of the healing power of nature and the wellness through adventure, because subconsciously on my own journey, I've retreated to nature every time and to adventure without realising that was my coping mechanism. And whether it be, I backpacked Asia in the middle of my 2 years of college. I was 17 and I just pissed off and just was climbing waterfalls and hitchhiking boats and things that just are so far removed from this little town of Stourbridge that I grew up in. And the power of nature, even now, like, because I'm in the city now and I'm from the countryside, I find I crave nature. I'm like, when someone's like, oh, I really crave a glass of wine or whatever, I crave trees. I'm like, give me oxygen and green. I'm sick of looking at buildings. It's so nourishing and just feels grounding, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And if you are someone who works in the city or in an office environment, just 45 minutes a day, whether it be in sunshine or rain, get out there, because that will have a better healing process than anything else that you can get. And as I say, if you wake the morning up with a nice cold shower and some exercise, then you are definitely set for the day.
How much time would you say? So someone that wants to start out with cold water therapy, because getting outside more is more accessible, but with the cold water, I don't want people to shock themselves and be like, I have to be in the shower for 20 minutes. So what would you say is the process? And also, what's the longest amount of time you've spent in cold water?
So I've had quite a few experiences. So I love wild swimming. So I'll send you the link. Actually, I've done a documentary like Mike, Nathan and I last year with JP, and we went around to 12 different locations in 24 hours.
That's amazing.
Jumping in all different seas and locations, from Henley down to Bristol, and then over to, as I say, Jurassic Coast. It's awesome. I'll send you the link. To get into cold water therapy, I would advise a cold shower. I actually find it more difficult to do a shower.
You can jump out then.
Yeah. I'm like, this is horrible. It's like, this is me. I love a shower, and now I'm turning it into something that's quite tough. So for me, the wheelie bin was much easier, although my neighbours thought I was absolutely crazy. You just see me. And sometimes I'd video it, so I'd have like a light on me and I'd be talking to a camera, shivering away, and my neighbours
in this wheelie bin.
walking the dogs like at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, thinking, what is he up to now? You know, he's insane.
I love this.
And then, but I would advise a cold shower, maybe 2 minutes. If you can't do 2 minutes, just build up to it. Build up to it gradually, and just think about what you're trying to achieve when you're doing it. So it's about that breathing, all nasal breathing. Get some really deep breaths. For free diving, we do something where when you're taking your breath in, you fill your cavity. So when we used to breathe in, we used to suck in. So actually breathe in, push out. So you fill that bottom cavity, so then your chest cavity, and then your throat, and then let it out again. And that's getting into that. If you could do, I don't know, if you've done 2 minutes that a day, it would change your life literally, because you'd be constantly in that parasympathetic. So that's what you're trying to achieve. Get in the cold water. It's going to make you breathe. It's going to turn you into a more relaxed state, and it's going to set you up for the day. 2 minutes, start off maybe 30 seconds. Then you've got a bath. You can jump in a cold bath. For me, I'm very blessed. I've got 2 marine lakes, one in West Kirby and one in
lovely.
Brighton. So I just walk into them, and I just, 10 minutes, 15 minutes nowadays. In the winter, we were lucky to get 9 to 10 minutes, even when you're conditioned.
Yeah, it would be so cold.
Feels like there's needles in you. But what I would say is just make sure whenever you're going into wild swimming or open water and anything like that, even a wheelie bin, just make sure there's someone close by.
Just in case.
If I was to cramp up and I couldn't get out of the wheelie bin and my partner weren't there, I'd be stuck, wouldn't I?
Yeah. You're just in the wheelie bin.
Always have a robust safety plan and try not to do it ever alone. But yeah. No, it's that's one thing. I would say that's my main toolkit, and the people who it's helped so far, they're forever thankful of just being introduced to it. It's really good.
Yeah. It's what's really interesting is to see how your sporting journey started. So you've always been really into sport and been quite active, and then you've gone through this military path, and then even the kind of sports that you do now, there's elements of like high intensity, action, thrill, but then there's that balance of the calm and the peace as well to get that well-rounded.
I think so. For me, I've always got to be on. I love adventure, and I love that little bit of the fear. When you're going into jiu-jitsu or when you're doing free diving, the fear is real, but it's trying to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and if you can master that, nothing that your normal daily habits is gonna throw at you will push you off sink. So besides, obviously, I know trauma when it comes to people dying in your family, it's quite hard to take. But cold water and things like that, then just it's all part of the toolkit. Not one thing will save you. Good exercise, good diet when it comes to your network and everything else, and the things that you listen to, you read. 45 minutes just being outdoors, that's so important. Cold water for me is the number one, and then meditation, and like as you mentioned, yoga. It has such a grounding principle to it. What's better than that? And plus it keeps your body active and gives you longevity, and when it comes to fitness and mobility, so it's unbelievable.
And I think as well, like you said, with anything, it's not just one pillar of the toolkit, it's all of the elements and consistency, and not hoping that you're going to drink a green juice and you'll be healed. You're not going to stop going on Instagram for an hour and all of a sudden you won't care about likes and followers. It's consistency, showing up for yourself, and dedicating that time to yourself day in, day out, which you're evidence that it works.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to social media, being a creator, not a consumer, is so important. Do something in a day, put it on there, and let people learn from it and enjoy that. There's a book called Atomic Habits, and I'll read this book. There's 2 books that I mainly go over and over again, actually, is The Chimp Paradox.
Love that book. That changed my life. I've got a copy. All of the corners are folded down. There's like notes everywhere. I think I lent it to my friend and she was like, I can't read this because your scribbles are everywhere. Sensational concept. It's quite wordy, but I think the more you read it, there's so much powerful things to take from it.
You know what? I just laugh at it all the times that I'm a chimp, and I'm like, Jesus, like you've got to get out of this. And literally, I have to read it like at least once a year just to keep on track.
Yeah.
And this Atomic Habits, if you haven't read it, I would definitely advise.
Not yet, but it's really weird actually, because you're the third person in the past 2 weeks to mention this book.
Really?
So I feel like it's about time I got onto it.
Talks about habit stacking and just how you build positive habits into your life. Now, if you start now with something, give it 12 months, you'll have added loads of little positive things to it, and all of a sudden you're starting to see life-changing ways of life. Honestly, it's probably the go-to book now that I would advise everyone to get amongst that. And obviously, if you are aggressive or you're having troubles with anxiety and stuff, things like that, then Chimp Paradox just makes it a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, chimps always going crazy.
I think it helps to associate it with I just see a little monkey, those little tambourine just causing chaos all the time. I think it really helps to see that little chimp and be like, oh, you're an idiot, stop this. It makes it more palpable. 2 more random questions I've got to ask you. So what I'm asking everyone in this season is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given? And what are 3 things in life that you can't live without? Run with the wind.
Oh, the tough one, isn't it? Yeah.
It's hard. It's actually really difficult.
Couldn't live without. I want to say my kids, but I think I couldn't live definitely without chocolate. Chocolate's got to be up there on a desert island. I was seeing them again. I would definitely choose chocolate at the time.
Have you tried Tony's Chocolonely?
I love it. Yeah, I go to the Whole Foods in Richmond, and even my little girl is obsessed with it.
It's taken over my life.
Yeah, when I come back, she says, "Daddy, have you got Tony's?" Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, don't worry. Here you go. Please be calm.
I love it. I love it. Some sort of fitness equipment. It's always, wherever I've been in the world, I take like bands. I've always got to do some sort of fitness. I really enjoy that. What would be my food in general? I'm a massive foodie. I absolutely
unlimited food access.
So if you put me on a desert island, make sure there's really nice fish in there that I can catch. Otherwise, I would be lost. Yeah, nice fish, nice meats, good foods. Yeah, I'm all over that.
I love that. What a great answer.
Yeah, and then so the best advice I've ever been given. It is a tough one. The most recent one was, your network equals your net worth.
Oh, I love that.
And I think it just resonated with me, certainly this period of time, because we talk about like networking when it comes to like growing businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's evident that I've gone over on this podcast a couple of times that my network is so much more than people who grow me. Now, I love human beings. It's something I've always done, and I believe in humans as well. That's my religion, if you like.
And I think that's so important, because I think we're bombarded with how evil we are all the time as a species. And actually we have some really incredible qualities that if we tap into, we can make change, rather than bullying ourselves into not recycling enough, we're burning things. But it's all... Actually, we're not all that bad.
And we're definitely not. And the only people who can save this is us. So if we don't believe in us, then where are we going to grow from? Yeah, it's that whole thing. If you keep hating, you can't find love through hate.
Yeah.
So love, and the people who are hating will eventually start to love. And I'm a massive believer in that. And you wouldn't think that we're going to talk about one of the things that I've done in the past, but that is very much where I am. And that's, and I think that one, your network equals your net worth. If you've got a real good network around you, then you're set for life, I think.
And this is your moment to self-plug. Where can people find you? What have you got coming up for the rest of 2021, 2022? Yeah, self-plug. Tell us where to find you, dreams, goals.
So I'm on social media as Des Fraser, at Des Fraser on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and YouTube actually as well. We're starting a little YouTube channel. But I think
that's fun. Just
like your podcast, the Declassified podcast, I would definitely advise people to have a little listen, because there's loads and loads of good tools on there of wellness. Everything I've spoken about here, there's a podcast there that will go into a hell of a lot more depth.
And you have such a plethora of guests on there as well. I started to listen through, and there's some people that have had, like you said, completely different experiences to me that I'd never crossed paths with otherwise. And I've actually taken some real nuggets of advice from them and actually started to implement that into my own life. So yeah, it's definitely one to listen, and I'll link all of this in the show notes so people have got access to it.
Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks for taking the time out.
Yeah, thank you so much for all your words of wisdom and being so honest and open and sharing. It's really been a joy, and I'm very inspired by you, I have to say.
Thank you. I hope it helps people as well.
Well, I think it's going to create some real pivotal change. The goal.